Facing the Sea, Spring Blossoms. Common reading to Heizi's concept of happiness. Author, Treeman. The poet Haizi in the poem Facing the Sea, Spring Blossoms showed his view of happiness. Poetry Chapter 1. Haizi said that he can be a happy person from tomorrow. What he thinks happy people look like. Feed the horses, chop firewood, and travel the world. Be a troubadour. Acting for the ideal, he can have a walk and go trip. Care for grain and vegetables. It shows that the previous life does not need to care about these firewood, rice, oil, and salt. Is it that Haizi has entered the stage of a rich life? Of course not. Haizi in reality is. Don't eat human fireworks, what to eat? So the poet says from tomorrow. I have a house facing the sea and blossoming in spring. The poet wants to live a stable life. Have a fixed residence, preferably a room with a sea view. Able to take root and settle. From tomorrow, be a happy person. Explain that the author is unhappy today and yesterday. How not to be happy? Confined to one place. Don't eat human fireworks, what to eat? Away from public life, lonely and isolated. Life is precarious and uncertain. So Haizi at that time believed that happiness was far away. In that distant place. Both spatial and temporal distances. This chapter the poet tells us. His happiness is on the other side. Happiness is tomorrow. Poetry Chapter 2. From tomorrow, correspond with each of my loved ones and tell them about my happiness. Because today's Haizi is not happy at all. He hopes that tomorrow he will be happy. Not like us today. The circle of friends who use their mobile phones all the time basking in their happiness. Lightning of happiness. When will there be lightning? Thunderstorms, when it's dark. It shows that the author was actually writing the letter. It's being in the dark and not feeling happiness. Features of lightning. Lightning comes fast, but it also goes fast. Short-lived happiness. Instant light. And the light is huge. It shows that happiness comes suddenly and greatly. It turned out not understood. Suddenly it was illuminated. The author suddenly understood the true meaning of happiness. What is the content of happiness? Is it known, or hopeful? Since then, the poet's heart has been illuminated. The poet in reality has experienced love once. Maybe it's this love. Light up Haizi's life from now on. Communicate with loved ones, of course. It is not necessary to report good news or bad news. Loved ones and family are the last harbor of our hearts. And Haizi only chose to report good news and not bad news. Because love ended in the end. His love was short and radiant. Haizi chose to report good news rather than bad news. This is probably Haizi's sense of responsibility as an eldest son and his stubborn and tenacious character. Of course, it can also show that he is not good at communication. But the most important thing is Haizi, who has lost love. There is no more happiness to pass on and share. In this chapter, the poet tells us that his happiness is far away. And for a short time, huge. So far, the poet is in the first and second chapters of poetry. Completed the annotation of his own view of happiness. Haizi's view of happiness. Feeding horses, chopping firewood, traveling the world, caring for life, correspondence with loved ones, seaside houses. The freedom to pursue solitude.